Chief Executive John Lee visits residents in Hoi Man Tin ahead of the Lunar New Year. One more Hong Kong resident detained in Myanmar will return home soon. Russian president described his relationship with Donald Trump as businesslike and trusting. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. With the Lunar New Year just a few days away, Chief Executive John Lee visited residents of Hoi Man Estate in Ho Man Tin today and went shopping at a street market for Lunar New Year traditional pastries. Lee wished the people of Hong Kong good health for the new year. And it tells us more.
Chief Executive John Lee arrived at the Hoi Man Estate this afternoon, accompanied by Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs Alice Mack to meet with residents. They visited two elderly people who live alone, delivering bags filled with goodies to wish them luck. An elderly woman told Lee that the community care team helped with the installation of bathroom handrails and ceiling repairs. This business operator at the Hoi Man Estate said he finds the chief executive to be kind and approachable. He also said he hopes the government could give more resources to small and medium enterprises amid the poor economy. Lee said the traditional Lunar New Year food reminded him of his childhood. After buying turnip cakes at the store, Lee said he would share it with his wife. This store staff said she hopes rent can be lowered as business is bad, with many people choosing to travel to the mainland to spend money. This 88-year-old woman said she hopes the government will continue to retain the $2 public transport fare concession for the elderly. John Lee extended his best wishes to the people of Hong Kong for a prosperous year of the snake, hoping for good health and success in various endeavors for all residents. Lee announced earlier that he, along with bureau secretaries, will visit 4 different districts starting from today for 4 consecutive days. Ann Ip, TVB News.
The Security Bureau said a Hong Kong resident who was earlier detained in Myanmar will return to Hong Kong on Monday, accompanied by members of the government task force. Samantha Lee has a story.
The 29-year-old rescued man is now in Thailand. He met with the Hong Kong government's task force on Friday night. The Security Bureau said the young man was in good shape mentally and physically.
With the assistance of Thai authorities and also with the Chinese embassy in Thailand and also with the help of the Thai consulate in Hong Kong, we are able to arrange him to be back to Hong Kong on coming Monday, and we are delighted that he can see his family members before the Chinese New Year and have a family reunion.
Sources say the young man was lured to Myanmar last October. He was rescued and taken to Thailand in recent days. His family members said they did not pay a ransom. Meanwhile, the police have rolled out a rapid testing kit for detecting an emerging drug called space oil, which contains an ingredient known as etomidate. The force has recently started carrying such devices on the street to intercept suspicious individuals. The security chief said police officers are being trained to handle different situations.
If someone is really innocent, and then our officers have to tactfully handle how to make the request. And we understand that if someone really is in possession of the space oil, and they are bound to be, have a certain reaction, and our officers are being trained to how to handle different scenarios.
Etomidate will be officially banned from February 14th under the Dangerous Drug Ordinance. Secretary for Security Chris Tang said the government will further publicize the issues on public buses and social media. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Secretary for Housing Winnie Ho said the number of young public housing applicants has seen a drastic drop in recent years. She said the figure reflects that most of the Hong Kong youth are not lying flat. The housing chief posted on social media that applications for public housing among those under 30 declined by 46% from 16,000 in 2019 to 2020 to 8,600 in 2023 to 2024. New applicants also decreased by half. Ho said the changes show young people in the city are ambitious. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mabel Chan says public transport at Kai Tak Sports Park was effective during yesterday night's largest ever drill at the venue. Chan says public transport effectively managed the crowd dispersal within government expectations. The test involved 63,000 participants across 3 venues inside the sports park. All attendees left within around 45 minutes, primarily using the MTR, which had increased train frequency. Secretary for the Civil Service Ingrid Yeung said there will be more drills in Kai Tak, including a large-scale one on February 4th, which will involve tens of thousands of civil servants. Overseas, Russian President Vladimir Putin struck a favorable tone to talk with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump over many issues of interest to both countries, including the war in Ukraine. United Nations spokesman encouraged possible talks between the U.S. and Russia. Danny Zhou reports.
In an interview with Russian state television, Vladimir Putin said Moscow is ready for conversations on a broad range of issues based on the realities of today, while stressing this primarily depends on the decision and choice of the current U.S. administration. Putin noted Moscow has never dodged any contact with Washington. But the question of negotiating with Ukraine was complicated by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's signing of a decree preventing him from holding talks with Putin. Putin described his relationship with Donald Trump as businesslike, pragmatic and trusting, and echoed Trump's claim that the crisis emerged in Ukraine could have been prevented had he been in the White House in 2020. In the days since his inauguration, Trump has threatened to hit Russia with new sanctions and tariffs if it refused to conclude a deal on the war in Ukraine, now nearing its 3rd year. On that, Putin said he doubts whether Trump would make decisions that would harm the American economy itself. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
In the U.S., lawmakers in Democratic-led states are proposing new measures that could erect legal obstacles to President Donald Trump's efforts to deport tens of thousands of undocumented immigrants. Meanwhile, U.S. military planes carrying deportees landed in Guatemala. Nasri Karim with more.
A U.S. military aircraft on the tarmac in Guatemala City after arriving from El Paso, Texas. One of the first migrant flights since President Donald Trump signed executive orders to strengthen border security, slash migration and fast-track deportation. This flight carried 31 women and 48 men. It was met by Guatemala's Vice President Karine Herrera and other officials. A second flight from Tucson, Arizona carried 80 adults, including 63 women. A third batch, also from El Paso, brought back 89 men, 11 women and 5 youngsters. Speaking to the media in Fletcher, North Carolina, Trump said he was so far happy with the deportation program.
Deportation's going very well. We're getting the bad, hard criminals out. These are murderers. These are people that have been as bad as you get, as bad as anybody you've seen. We're taking them out first.
Upon taking office on Monday, Trump declared a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border and announced plans to send troops to the area. The use of military aircraft for deportations is unusual, which is why Mexico has refused to entertain such flights. But the Mexican border city of Tijuana, south of California, is preparing for an influx of deportees from the U.S. by land. Mexican officials have warned that if U.S. migration authorities deliver on Trump's stated goals, that volume of deportees may grow significantly. Victor Clark, a professor at San Diego State University, said Tijuana does not have the capacity to receive the expected 1,000 daily migrants.
Crime's going to go up. It's going to get pretty dangerous. Who knows what kind of people they're going to be deporting from, but it's just when you put a lot of rats in a small jar, and they all tend to get crazy, that's what's going to happen.
Nasri Karim, TVB News.
Hamas militants today released 4 female Israeli soldiers that they held captive for 15 months in a planned exchange for Palestinian prisoners. A Red Cross convoy was seen heading to Gaza City to receive 4 Israeli hostages held by Hamas. The expected swap of more hostages for Palestinian prisoners is the second such exchange since a ceasefire began in the Gaza Strip last weekend. On Saturday, 4 female hostages held by Hamas are expected to be freed for 200 prisoners held by Israel, including 120 who are serving life sentences after being convicted of deadly attacks on Israelis. Crowds gathered in Gaza ahead of the release of the Israeli soldiers. 3 hostages were released earlier this week. And still ahead, Commissioner of Police Raymond Siu gives updates on scams involving mainland students in local universities. Fierce weather hits Northern Ireland. And Donald Trump visits California after it was devastated by wildfires. Welcome back. Commenting on the string of scams targeting students from the mainland, Police Commissioner Raymond Siu said 80% of the victims came to Hong Kong for the first time. He said recent measures against fraud are showing initial results, including anti-scam questionnaires at universities.
The police college held its latest passing out parade of 37 probationary inspectors and 195 recruit police constables. Members of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, Dara Lee, inspected the ceremony. She said new challenges have emerged with new types of crime, notably tech-fueled fraud cases. With that, she called on police officers to keep apace with the times to address the evolving offenses. Last year, the police received 318 reports of mainland students having fallen prey to phone scams. They involved losses of some $230 million. In January, there were 16 cases involving nearly $20 million. Police Commissioner Raymond Siu said the police at the university had joined forces to launch anti-scam questionnaires for newly arrived students. Over the first 11 months of 2024, the number of fraud cases targeting university students from the mainland rose 8.7% year-on-year. But the increase has been slower than the surge of more than 40% over the previous 2 years. Siu said the questionnaire is not mandatory, but the police hope the incoming students will be more vigilant. And he said the efforts have shown some effectiveness in thwarting swindlers. Siu revealed 80% of the scam victims came to Hong Kong for the first time, and some scammers had reached out to them before they even settled in the city. Siu noted there was a student who committed suicide after being defrauded, and the father of the deceased called for a tougher crackdown against scams. As for the imminent legislative amendment on February 14th to classify etomidate or space oil as a drug, Siu said more campaigns are underway against space oil. After the new policy takes effect, the maximum penalty for trafficking space oil is life imprisonment upon conviction.
In connection with a murder and wounding case that led to the death of a 24-year-old man in Yuen Long on Wednesday, 2 of the 6 people arrested appeared in court today for a mention hearing. At Tuen Mun Magistrates Courts, 19-year-old Lai Yu Heng and 27-year-old Feng Chi Him had no case to answer for now, pending further investigation by the police. The pair, both unemployed, were charged with 1 count of murder and 1 count of wounding. Feng is facing 1 more charge of illegal possession of Part 1 poison. The case has been adjourned until May 16th. Overseas again, Ireland and Northern Ireland have been enduring the strongest winds on record. Storm Éowyn swept in with gales measured at 183 kilometers an hour. It has been described as a once-in-a-generation storm. People struggle to stand in the street. Huge sea waves battered the coast off the northern tip of Northern Ireland. A 20-year-old man died in the south when a tree fell on top of him. Around 1 million homes lost electricity as power lines came down. Scotland has also been hit with trains widely disrupted. England and Wales can expect strong wind and heavy rain today. Slates were blown off roofs and exposed structures smashed to pieces.
I was just concerned that any slates or anything, as I said, would fly in through anybody's window, like, you know.
The wind's ferocious and very wet. The waves are kicking over the wall there, so
all drenched. Have you seen winds like this in full rush before? Not for a while. Probably 20 or 30 years.
During his visit to Los Angeles, Donald Trump offered federal aid to get help to those in need as wildfires continue. David Garrett reports.
President Trump and First Lady down the steps of Air Force One, greeted by California's Governor Gavin Newsom, who says his state is still suffering from wildfires.
We're going to need your help. You were there for us during COVID. I don't forget that. And I have all the expectations that we'll be able to work together to get this speedy recovery.
We will. We've got to get it done. Tremendous numbers of lives have been affected. A lot of real estate's been affected. Nobody's ever probably seen anything like this.
Trump saw the devastation for himself, first from the air in a helicopter and then on a walking tour. The US leader and Melania toured Pacific Palisades, scorched streets. The couple listened to stories from owners waiting to return to damaged homes. They met with firefighters who have tackled the deadly blazes and have worked tirelessly for weeks.
I think you can realize how rough it is, how devastating it is until you see it. It is devastation. It's incredible. It's really an incineration. Essentially waive all federal permits. We're going to have you go very quickly because a federal permit can take 10 years. We're not going to do that. We don't want to take 10 days. I would.
So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope you're right.
You can hold me to it.
4 groups said that.
No.
That would be they should be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
The source and scale of the flames has been debated. Trump critical of the amount of water available to fight the fires. Policy chiefs say climate change is the real problem.
Hot summer in 2024 and then no rain in Southern California for 9 months. So you just have really dried out vegetation, and then those winter Santa Ana winds came in.
Fires are still burning. Another large inferno erupted just before Trump came to California, where the president promised very big progress. David Garrett, TVB News.
Switzerland's tourism industry has rapidly recovered post-pandemic, but the growth of visitors from Hong Kong and the mainland has been slow. Local travel agencies hope to simplify visa procedures for mainland tourists to attract them to Switzerland. Annette reports.
The scenic beauty of Switzerland, such as its glaciers and snow-capped peaks in winter, draws many travelers. Post-pandemic tourism has improved sharply, with local tourism revenue reaching more than 18 billion Swiss francs 2 years ago. Visitors from Greater China staying overnight, however, were only about half of the pre-pandemic levels of 2 years ago. Although numbers rose to more than 1 million last year, they accounted for only about 4% of total visitors.
Visa is a great obstacle for Greater China. Delays in confirming reservations to Chinese groups, and which also somehow does not motivate Chinese people to book more tours to Switzerland. It does affect, yes. It's possible to somehow simplify and speed up the process of obtaining visa, maybe even online, in a shorter period of time. Switzerland wants more Chinese tourists and Hong Kong tourists, definitely, and they want to promote Switzerland for mostly people with higher budgets.
Hong Kong travel agencies said group sizes for European tourists have halved compared to pre-pandemic levels due to labor shortages and rising costs in Europe, limiting their ability to reduce tour prices. Chairman of travel agency Go Joy Holidays Freddie Yip said renting cars and booking restaurants have also become more expensive. He said some Hong Kong residents found the price too expensive, so they chose not to go. The tourism industry in Switzerland also faces strict labor laws that limit employee work hours and restrict Sunday operations for most shops. Anne Ip, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.